Hey guys, I am back for my weekly What I'm Reading Wednesday. And I'm excited because I think I'm reading two different books from the last time I talked about what I was reading on Wednesday. And I'm excited to share what I'm learning in these books that I'm listening to or reading. So I always have 2 or 3 books going, which I don't really recommend. But I have one on Kindle, and then I usually have one on Audible, which is just an audiobook app. And I love Audible. If you guys could do anything, I would suggest getting Audible. Audible is an app, and it is free, but in order to buy things, in order to purchase books, you have to purchase books in order to listen to them. So the app itself is free, but you do have to buy books. And so you can have a membership, I think it's $10 a month, and you get 1 book a month with that. And there's a 30-day free trial anyway, so in that 30-day free trial, you get a free book. So if you don't like it, just cancel and then you never get charged. But I recommend it for everyone because I will be honest, my brother is a huge reader. Well, my dad was a huge reader. I'd always see him read history books. But my brother, he is a huge reader in regards to like self-help and anything that relates to his profession. He has thousands of books. And I always thought that he was crazy. You know, he'd come over to our family events and he would just lay down and read. And I was thinking, how selfish are you to be reading while we have this family event? But he'd be, eating dinner with us and stuff like that. But anytime there was downtime, he would read. And I thought he was crazy. Until I started reading myself, like self-help books, motivation books, business books. Until I started doing that myself, I thought he was crazy. But now I'm a believer and I recommend everyone to be reading self-help, motivation, whatever kind of books you want to call it. But I encourage you to be always learning. So, to the meat. So I'm reading this book, which is free on Kindle. If you guys have Kindle or the Kindle app, I have an iPhone, but I use the Kindle app and it's free right now. I don't know how long it's gonna be free, but the book is free right now. So it's called W.A.I.T.loss, W-A-I-T, all with abbreviations, W-A.I.T.loss, weight loss, the keys to food freedom and winning the battle of the binge. And I was perfect because I'm doing a 7 to 10 day juice fast. And the reason why I'm doing a juice fast is because I could see my habits of being a binge eater coming back. And for me, it wasn't binging on chips or Twinkies or donuts. It was binging on just normal food. Like at dinner time, I would have my helping, my 1 serving or whatever. Usually it was like 2 on a plate. And then I didn't want to do the normal mundane mom things like giving my kids a bath or cleaning up after dinner or doing dishes. I didn't want to do those things, so I would eat and eat and eat food because if I was eating, I didn't have to do other tasks, right? Anyone else feel me? So that's the kind of binge eating. It wasn't me binging and purging. It wasn't me binging on Twinkies. It was just me binging on normal food. So this book came into my life perfectly. So like I said, it's free on Kindle, but I'm going to mention some things that have really helped me with this. So she talks about a concept of the limbic brain versus the prefrontal cortex. So the limbic brain, she refers to it as the bratty brain. It's the one that says, I see a donut, I want to eat the donut. And that part of the brain is very animalistic. So if you think of a crocodile, it doesn't think, should I eat that meat over there? No, if it's hungry, it's gonna eat it. It's gonna attack it. So that's the bratty brain, the limbic brain. Our other side of our brain, or another part of our brain, is called the prefrontal cortex. That is the one that uses logic and reason and problem solves and plans. So that's the one that says, don't eat that donut because you know where it goes, straight to your hips or whatever. So we have the bratty brain, or the limbic brain as she calls it, or the limbic brain that she calls the bratty brain, and then we have the prefrontal cortex, which is actually the problem solver, the thinker. So she talks about this idea of being mindful of our thoughts. So separating the self, which is the one that's reasonable, with the thoughts of the bratty brain. So she talks about knowing the difference. So you know that the bratty brain is saying, I see that donut, I want to eat it right now. And then you also have the thought of, well, if I eat that donut, I'm gonna lose my willpower, I'm gonna struggle with the rest of the day of eating. So she talks about noticing both of those thoughts, but then dismissing the bratty brain and saying, you don't know what I know, you're just this animalistic thing, you don't know what I know, so I'm not gonna even pay attention to you. Which I've heard about that before, but the way she described it was like, duh, you know? And so I totally encourage you to read it. Some other things that she talked about how when you first lose weight and then you struggle to either maintain it or you struggle to lose more, she talks about like different plateaus and how to break them. She talks about a 3-bite rule when it comes to desserts. So she quoted a scientist who said that anything more than 3 bites is waste of your taste buds, because the first bite is always great. Well, not always, but if it's a good food that you like eating, it always tastes super good. The second bite is great, but it's not as good as the first time. And then the third bite, it's kind of like your taste bud experience is over and it's like, eh. And that's true for me too. I've noticed that as well. But when I get into a cheesecake, say, I have 3 bites, I'm like, oh yeah, it was good. But then I just want to finish it because I have to finish it. It's a whole piece. I don't want to waste anything. Or the sugar kicks in and I just can't, I don't have any willpower to stop eating it, right? Does anyone else feel like that? So she talks about a 3-bite rule for desserts, which I thought was pretty genius, actually. And then she talks about decision fatigue. So throughout the day, we're making decisions, what to wear, when to brush our teeth. Are we going to work out? How to deal with the kids? You know, if the kids are throwing a fit, you have to make decisions constantly. And so by the end of the day or mid-afternoon, you're fatigued in your decision making. So she talks about like, you know, that's when we start, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That's when we want to start eating things that we know we're not supposed to because we are tired of making decisions. So she's going into more of that. That's where I'm at now. But that's where meal prepping is so important, because we don't want to have to decide about what we're going to eat for dinner or what we're going to have later on. If we have meal prepped already, less decision fatigue. Okay, that's number 1 book. Number 2 book is on Audible, so I'm listening to it. It's called Love Your Life, Not Theirs: 7 Money Habits for Living the Life You Want. And that is by Rachel Cruz. She's the daughter of Dave Ramsey, the famous get out of debt guru. And so I'm in chapter 6, and mainly she's been talking about this entire time about comparison. Pretty much, it's the majority of what she's been talking about was comparison. So some things she was talking about was keeping up with the Joneses, and how our parents did have a little bit of keeping up with the Joneses, but it wasn't as bad because they could only keep up with the people that were in their neighborhood, the people that they saw every day. That's, you know, the only people that they knew were getting new cars or a new sofa. That's the only people they knew. But now in our generation, we have social media, and so it's incredibly more hard to keep up with the Joneses, because we see someone across the world that got a new purse or that got to travel or anything like that, and we immediately want that, right? So she talks about how so much harder it is to not compare these days. She had some good quotes, so I wrote them down so I could give them to you. She said, when we start comparing ourselves to other people, we are playing a game we will never win. Isn't that true? When we compare, we will never win. You are comparing yourself to make-believe. Your real life will never feel good enough, because on Instagram there's filters, right? And then if you're gonna post on Facebook or Instagram, you're only gonna post the cutest stuff. You're not gonna post an ugly picture of you or an ugly, unflattering picture of your husband or your kids. You have, you know, your phone and you're taking it on burst mode to make sure you capture the perfect moment. So it's real life, but it's make-believe, because you're only posting the good and the best flattering or the best things. So you're comparing yourself to make-believe, so that means you're never gonna attain those pictures anyway. All right, comparing ourselves to others is a coping mechanism for our own insecurities, right? I know that's so true for me. When I'm insecure about how I don't decorate my house enough, or I'm not that good of a mom, or all that stuff, I see all those things on Instagram and I'm like, oh, she has it all together. Look at her clean house. Look at that cool meal that she made for her family, or all those cool things that she does for her kids. And so it's just, when we see those things on other people's social medias, it's really an insecurity of ourselves. And then our own internal struggles that are keeping us from living the life we love. So the things that we're comparing to are preventing us to living our own life, the life that we love with our family, but we keep comparing, and we're never gonna be able to enjoy our family or our own life if we're comparing to others. There's no room for discontentment in a heart filled with gratitude. I'm gonna repeat that one, that one's good. There is no room for discontentment in a heart filled with gratitude. And another one she says is, it is hard to be hateful when you're grateful. So I'm just gonna leave it like that, because she dropped the mic on that It is hard to be hateful when you're grateful, right? Come on. All right, so those are the two books, Weight Loss and Love Your Life, Not Theirs. Those are the two books I'm reading, and they're awesome. So check them out at the library. Go on Kindle, get the free Weight Loss, or go on Audible and get Love Your Life, Not Theirs. Super good. Okay, see you next week, guys.